It's my favourite time of the year, the period just before Christmas, where there's lots of excitement around the festivities, and with that, of course, also comes the gift planning. So I thought, why not go through some of the best things that I think you should be knitting and crocheting for your loved ones as gifts this year. I'm pretty sure I did one of these videos last year, so I'll link it down below if you need even more inspiration. But there are a few more things that I thought of this year, and there were 3 criterias that kind of came to mind when I thought of some of the gift ideas. Now, these are personal to me, but I do think they helped identify the most sort of realistic projects that you can make for gifts. First of all, I thought of practicality. The thing that you're making ideally should be used by that person in some kind of capacity. There's nothing worse than receiving a gift that you don't actually have any use for, and for the person making the gift, you don't want to waste loads of time and effort with the person not actually using the final end result. I think it should also be fairly quick. Now, that obviously depends on the person making it. Some people knit and crochet quicker than others, and just your perception of what is quick might vary. For me personally, I don't think I want to spend more than 4 hours on a project. Any more than that, I do just get resentful towards the person, and that's never fun. And then the third one is, most of the time you want to use fairly chunky yarn. This is very project dependent and definitely doesn't apply to all of the gift ideas that I've come up with, but generally a thicker yarn, you will need less time for it. You can make a bigger piece in a small amount of time as well. So those are just the 3 things that I try to keep in mind when compiling my list. Going straight in with something that I am very excited to make this year, and that is the sailor slippers. They have been all over my TikTok, all over my Instagram. I've seen so many fun colour combinations, and because the recommended yarn for that is drop snow, which is a fairly chunky yarn, it can be done up so quickly. Even if you're making it for someone who has massive feet, it should be done fairly quickly. Anyways, on the practicality scale, these are great. I never used to wear slippers in the house, but our house now has tiles and they get really cold in the winter, so slippers are actually a must for me and my boyfriend this year. So I am planning to make a couple pairs for us both, but I'm pretty sure the practicality of slippers would apply to quite a lot of people in everyone's lives, I'd say. And this next one is very style dependent. It won't resonate with every single person in your life, but it is a slim bonnet. Now, I've talked about this one in a couple of videos actually. The reason why I put them on there is because they are much quicker to make than a beanie, than a balaclava, than any kind of other bonnet, because it is literally just like a strap of fabric over the head. Not everyone's going to like these, so if you've got a friend or family member who you know is going to pull this off, or who wears similar things to that, then I think that could be an amazing one. I did a video a few weeks ago where I shared lots of patterns and projects that you can make with only one skein, and I've got a Google sheet that I'm also going to link down there, because there's lots of sort of beanie, hats, balaclava, bonnet patterns. On this list, I have also included a few of those kind of halfway bonnets. So you have the Ellie bonnet by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones, and this one uses a fingering yarn, so this one could take you a little bit longer, but it is very cute, it's very fluffy. And then there's also the Early Spring bonnet, and this one uses bulky yarn, so this one could be done much quicker maybe. And I also like how long and sort of chunky the tie is, so you can even use that as a scarf. So either of those I think would make amazing presents. Then I think projects where you can include other mediums are really, really cool to kind of level up your knitting and crocheting and make it stand out even more as a gift. One of the things I've been obsessing over is a chunky bag, sort of like a t-shirt yarn bag, but then for the handles you add some beads on it. To me, that seems like quite an inexpensive and quick upgrade to like a normal t-shirt yarn bag, and I like the mix of the mediums. So you have the sort of scrappy soft material of the bag itself, but then the handles would just create something more sturdy, and I just think it would really elevate the present so much more. I would be over the moon to get like a beaded t-shirt bag like this, and obviously the t-shirt yarn is very thick, it's quite quick to work with, and if you create this sort of rounded, almost basket shape for the bag, then it isn't overly complicated either to make it. Even simpler than that, you could make a scarf slash headband, and for this one I like the multi-purpose use, kind of again tying to the practicality criteria. Gifting someone something that has multiple uses, we love. So you could make a bandana that, yeah, it's long enough to wear as a belt or kind of just like a hip feature. You can obviously wear it as a bandana. You can kind of wear it as a little tie scarf. You could also use it decoratively around the house or tying it on your bags. And I think giving that person multiple options on how to use your gift gives each individual person the option to use it how they like. Not everyone's going to want to wear it as a scarf, not everyone's going to want it as a bandana, but at least the option is there. Then this is a very obvious gift, but I had to include it because I've gotten messages about it, and I personally am making some as gift, and that is scooties, balaclavas, and just any type of hood. My timeline for this is awful, but I am currently working on 3 new scooty designs. One of them is going to be a replica of my granny square crochet scooty, and then 2 of them are just going to be very easy scooty designs, one in knit and one in crochet. Unfortunately, they are not going to be out in time for Christmas. Bad timing on my behalf. I didn't plan for these patterns to be designed. There are many more amazing balaclavas and hoods that you can be knitting and crocheting in time for Christmas. Obviously, as a self plug, there is my granny square crochet scooty, which I've been able to make within 4 to 6 hours. So it is very quick. It uses Aran weight yarn, so it's nice and chunky. Again, I'm just going to refer to the sheet that I made a few weeks ago because there's so many balaclavas and bonnets in there. A couple other sort of crochet ones that I really like is the Saxa bonnet, which just has very simple sort of granny squares. You also have the Pixel hood by Cosmaudi, which is a Tunisian crochet pattern, I want to say. And then in terms of knit, there are so many gorgeous ones as well. I really like the Harrier bonnet by Milena Paulina and the Balla bonnet by Simstrik. That one again is chunky. It seems fairly straightforward. That one would make an incredible gift for people. I feel like the bonnets and balaclavas have become the new beanie of this like generation. Like when I look back to a few years ago when I sort of started out knitting and crocheting, it was still kind of looked at strangely to wear a bonnet out and about. Now I wear my scooties without a second thought, and no one even looks at me strangely. Maybe I was just more insecure back then as well, I don't know. Then something that is useful for pretty much every single person that I can think of in my life, especially family members, is anything sort of kitchen textile related. So I'm talking dishcloths, pot holders, and oven mitts. I've actually received a couple knitted dishcloths from my mum. I think my mum bought them from somewhere, and I love them so much. It feels so special to get them out. And dish towels especially, they can just be like a square. They don't have to be massive. You can use a very simple stitch, or you can be more creative with a bit more colour work, stripes and patterns and stuff like that. The same kind of applies to pot holders. You just have to be careful of the yarn you use for that, because they obviously need to endure quite high temperatures of heat. But for those especially, I've seen some really fun granny square designs that you can just make into pot holders, put a cute little sort of loop on them so people can hang them up in their kitchen. I think that's so adorable. And oven gloves I've actually never thought of before. I actually don't have any oven gloves. I'm considering making some for myself. Having a crochet or knit version of an oven glove would be so cool and such a standout sort of feature in a kitchen as well. Then if you just want to make something super uncomplicated and straightforward, you can make a skinny scarf. They're super fashionable, super trendy, and you don't even really need a pattern for it. You can literally just make a very, very long, thin rectangle and call it a day. Obviously, you can also spruce it up a little bit. You can make the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. There are so many like cutesy little scarves you can make. But I think like a long skinny scarf is really cool as well. I think everyone's kind of doing the little Sophie scarf variations now, and they are really adorable. They're really useful. But maybe like a long skinny scarf is more wearable for some other people. You can also include a lot more colour or different patterns into that as well, and kind of personalise it a little bit to the person that you're gifting it to. Then another personal favourite, I think this is so practical. I feel like if I was gifted that, it would show that that person's really sort of paid attention to my interests and my needs, and that is Kindle, laptop and iPad covers. I've recently crocheted a Kindle cover, and it was so easy, it was so quick, and it makes me so happy whenever I get to take my Kindle anywhere. And then when I was on holiday, I saw my auntie and my grandma, and they had their Kindles out. I had my laptop with me, and I realised there's actually so much more use for Kindle covers, laptop covers, iPad covers than I previously realised. And I'm pretty sure every single person that I can think of in my life will have either of those 3 things. So there's definitely use for those kind of covers and bags. You could make it into like a slip pouch like I've done. You can just make like a tie pouch. You can add buttons, you can add zippers. You can be as creative as you want want with this, or you can also just keep it super simple, straightforward and easygoing. And this one again, I would say is a little bit more specific to the person and depends on their style, and it's kind of similar to gifting someone a piece of artwork. It's very personal and depends on their sort of taste, but I think it could be really cool to make a tapestry and have it framed. I think the framing is very important in that sort of process because it just elevates the crochet or knit tapestry so much more. Again, you can keep it super simple. You can make sort of a filet crochet piece of artwork, which would take a little bit longer because you're using finer yarn, or you can create a proper color work type of tapestry, which could also take a bit longer because you're working with multiple colors. But if you use a thicker yarn, then you could maybe work it up a little bit quicker. But this could be so fun and so personal. You can think of some kind of symbols that that person really likes related to their favorite food, their favorite animal, their favorite place to be, and it just instantly becomes such a cute little gift that they can display in their house. I've been saying for the longest time now that I want to make my own tapestry to keep above the doorway. Just think it would be such a cute feature in the house. Be a great talking point as well. It's not really something that you can just buy in any store. And then the last thing, I'm pretty sure I've included this in my last or the previous gift guide, but I still stand by this because it is a very quick thing to make, and again, it can be very personal, and in terms of practicality it's very useful, but you also just don't have to overthink it too much. Like, it's not like a piece of artwork you have to hang in your house, but that is keychains / just decorations you can use anywhere. So anything that's sort of dangly, again similar to the beaded bags, you're using other materials by adding the keychain, and the actual keychain itself can be again any symbol that has meaning to the person you're gifting it to. Again, whether it's a favorite animal or a memory of a holiday you've been on together, their favorite foods, literally anything. And if you feel they don't have need for a keychain, you could also turn it into a Christmas tree decoration. I actually love gifting Christmas tree decorations. They don't take that much time, and I think when you're decorating your tree, it is always really nice to have ornaments that are meaningful and are personal to you and kind of have a story to tell. But it's also low pressure. Like, if the person you're gifting this keychain / decoration / ornament to and they hate it, it's really not the end of the world. You know, you've not spent hours on it. It would have maybe taken you like an hour tops. So that's why I've had to include this, because if after all of those other things that I've mentioned you still think, I don't really know if that is worth gifting, which I think is so fair, because knitting and crocheting takes a long time, it's a lot of effort, and you do just want to make sure that the person you're gifting it to appreciates it, finds use in it, and your time hasn't been wasted. It sounds really harsh, but I do think it's good to value your own time. So if you only want to put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort in, then a keychain or an ornament is the perfect thing to do. It is cute to hold, it's cute to open as a gift, and it's always a good backup option. And with that, we're already done with my list. It's fairly short, but honestly there's not that many things that I personally think is worth gifting, I have to be honest. These things I totally would gift to friends and family in my life. Anything more than a bonnet, I don't think I'd bother. That being said though, I would love to expand my list, so please let me know in the comments if you've seen anything fun or things that you're making for your friends and family that I haven't even thought of, because yeah, like I said, my list is fairly limited, so I would be very open to more gift ideas. Anyways, I better stop chatting and actually start making some gifts, because we only have less than 8 weeks left, so that's not a lot of time to make those gift projects, especially if you're making gift for multiple people. That's gonna take a lot of time. Thank you always so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you next time, and until then, goodbye.